We've come to a point in gaming where it's time to ask ourselves, is pirating ethical and does it hurt the industry?
Never, something that's on that list. And the reason that we think that we don't have issues with piracy is that there's misconceptions in the industry about what piracy is, right? There's assumption that what is piracy? Piracy is about people want to steal stuff from you, right? That they don't want to pay any money and they want to get your content. But when you look at the fact that these people have, $2,000 PCs and they're spending $50 a month US more on their internet connections, clearly they're willing to spend money. So from our point of view, what we saw more and more is that piracy is the result of bad service on the part of game companies.
Recently, Ubisoft came out and said that they really don't believe that gamers own their games fully, including their digital games, that they don't really own them. It's more of a license. And this is just one of the many things that gaming companies have been saying, from saying that they should charge for the amount of ammunition you get in the game for each bullet, or the fact that Nintendo is pretty much daring the industry to raise their game prices even further to $80, which with tax would be $87. And those things have made piracy come back in a big way. And it's not only with video games, you see it with movies as well. Before we would have one or two streaming services, all of a sudden everybody wanted a piece of the pie of the streaming service, with Apple losing $1 billion in streaming every year and basically using it as a tax write-off for them. That makes the entire industry kind of deadlock of you needing their service if you want a particular show or movie, which has now pushed people to kind of start pirating again in movies as well. And I really do think that Gabe Newell did an amazing job describing to the fact that if people are pirating your stuff, it's more than likely something you're doing and not that they want to steal your product. And I think this will become more prevalent in movies and especially in video games when prices start going up to $80. And the truth of the matter is, there's no game that is worth $80 at the moment. You can argue and say that a Rockstar game more than likely has claim to that $80 game if they really wanted to. But the reality is, the reason why Grand Theft Auto has sold so well in the past was because those games were $50. I could afford to go get a $50 game. And I know people want to bring up the fact that the Nintendo 64 had $80 games, which yes, made an opening in the market, which PlayStation took with much cheaper games and a cheaper storage, which was CD-ROM. PlayStation dominated that generation and other generations to come after it because they understood the value of the price that they should put versus of what they were gonna get from their consumers, which was $50. If people aren't willing to pay for your product because it costs too much, that means it inherently does not have the value that you're putting it on. This is one of the biggest reasons why the Wii U failed and why it was kind of one of the most pirated consoles like that to this date. The whole reason why Breath of the Wild was pirated so much from that game was because nobody wanted to buy a Wii U. It looked like a piece of garbage. But Breath of the Wild was amazing, and Nintendo saw that and made the Nintendo Switch and made it a launch game for the Nintendo Switch. So when the people who pirated saw that it was in a more cheaper and more accessible console that you could take everywhere, that game went on to sell the most in all of the Legend of Zelda franchise. Now, does it hurt companies? I think with all these things that we put in on the table of whether or not it is hurting companies or not, it could. It could hurt an indie developer. It could hurt somebody like that. But in reality, is it hurting these giant competitors of Sony, of Xbox, of Nintendo? It is not. For the most part, the reason why people even pirate in the first place is because those companies have not given value in their product and have not given a good service. This is why the Steam Deck is probably one of the most popular Nintendo Switches that you can get, because of the fact that it's just such a better console and has a bunch of value to it compared to the Nintendo Switch. Is it a powerful handheld? By all means, it is not. It is probably one of the most underpowered ones out there to this date right now. But the fact that you can stream games from your Steam Deck, although from Steam onto your Steam Deck, is one of the coolest features in the world. Not only that, but you get a large library of games from Steam that are compatible with the Steam Deck. So you get that entire library on top of handheld streaming from a PC. That value, of course, is a lot more than what we have currently with the Nintendo Switch.
Although about 3 million computers get sold every year in China, people don't pay for the software. They will, though. It's sort of as long as they're going to steal it, we want them to steal ours. They sort of get addicted, and then we somehow figure out how to collect sometime in the next decade. So
I think Bill Gates said it best there that if you're pirating anything, we want you to pirate our stuff, not the competitor stuff. Because if you're pirating our competitor stuff, that gives them a chance to be able to make that product either more available or give the value of what you're charging for them to eventually buy. For a lot of these companies, they misunderstand and don't remember to the fact that more than likely either they came in to fill in a void of what somebody else was overcharging or not valuing their customers enough for them to come in and give that value to the customer, or they pirated their stubs and the feature gave it more value, which made that game sell more, or that software or that movie or that franchise. Piracy has constantly been a positive in the AAA space, and especially in Hollywood and the AAA video game market. The place that it does hurt is indie developers, because these are people with little to no money that are trying to make a game take off. That is another discussion within itself. I think in conclusion, pirating doesn't really do anything but expose companies. I think the only thing that pirating does is kind of expose the fact that the industry of gaming and entertainment in general has kind of either, like with movies and Hollywood, fragmented the entire industry to where everybody has a streaming service now, or not give the value of what you're charging or the console that you're kind of selling.
Are there any left? There may be one. Okay, it's $500, you have no choice of carrier, the battery can't hold a charge, and the reception isn't very— Shut up and take my money!
Corporations need to understand we want to give you our money, but the fact that sometimes you overestimate what your value of your product is kind of pisses your consumers off, because it looks like you're trying to rip them off. And not only looks, but you actually are ripping them off. With movie tickets going up in price and video games also going up in price, it makes your consumer price out, and it doesn't help the fact that you release games that are unfinished or movies that are not worthwhile to pay $15 plus max at the movies. Now the question is whether these companies like PlayStation or Xbox are going to do that. We have seen some work from Xbox with the Xbox Game Pass being $20 a month, which really gives, like, we've seen Xbox with Xbox Game Pass offering $20 a month and this giant library of games that they have. That is probably one of the best deals in gaming if you play a lot of games. Whether or not somebody like Steam or PlayStation will come out and release a handheld or make the games priced as is or a little cheaper remains to be seen. I hope that the rumored PlayStation 6 portable that is coming out alongside with the PlayStation 6, which we're going to talk about later this week if you want to subscribe and like. I hope that PlayStation or Steam comes in to fill this void and understand that we want to give you our money, but we want to give you our money with the best value possible for us and the standard that you guys have made over the years. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Do you think that PlayStation or Steam are going to come out and give the value of what gamers want or more accessibility? Let me know what you think below. Do you think I'm even right about piracy, that it doesn't really hurt AAA game makers? Let me know what you think below. And remember, you're pretty good.